Okay, let's jump right into this explainer and demystify exactly how asset managers need to report on workforce diversity under the SASB standards. Look, if you operate in asset management, you already know the scrutiny on sustainability is absolutely intense right now. So today, we're zeroing in on one highly structured metric that regulators and investors are paying close attention to. And I'll tell you right now, this goes way beyond a simple generic corporate statement about diversity. We're going to break down the strict quantitative and qualitative requirements of this standard so you know exactly what is expected.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the race for skilled talent. Unpack metric FNAC 330A.1. Go over the 4 mandatory employee categories, look at how to calculate gender and diversity, and finally, wrap up with fostering equitable representation.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the race for skilled talent.
Now, to really grasp this standard, we first have to understand the business environment that's actually driving it. Asset management is facing rapid innovation right now. Think complex financial products, algorithmic trading, advanced quantitative modeling. Because of this, the competition for skilled talent is literally fiercer than ever. The ability of a firm to attract and, more importantly, retain highly skilled employees is absolutely paramount to its survival. But you might be wondering, what does this actually have to do with diversity metrics? Well, by ensuring gender and racial diversity throughout the organization, firms immediately expand their candidate pools. This isn't just a feel-good HR initiative. It directly reduces hiring costs and improves overall operational efficiency.
And this perfectly captures why all of this matters. Diversity expands candidate pools, lowers costs, and ultimately impacts the bottom line. The SASB standards specifically highlight research suggesting that diverse groups of employees can actually enhance the risk-return characteristics of investment portfolios. It makes sense, right? When you have varied perspectives analyzing highly complex markets, you naturally mitigate your blind spots. That right there is the fundamental financial rationale behind why investors want to see this data.
Moving right along to Section 2, unpacking metric FNAC 330A.1.
Let's transition from the high-level philosophy directly into the reporting weeds. The crucial takeaway here is this specific metric code, FN-AC-330A.1, the Employee Diversity and Inclusion Standard. Whenever you're compiling your SASB disclosures for the financial sector, specifically for asset management and custody activities, this is the exact code that mandates exactly how you present your human capital data.
Under this specific metric, companies are mandated to report 2 core quantitative data points: gender percentages and diversity group percentages. You cannot just put out a blanket statement saying, hey, our firm is 50% diverse. No way. The standard requires a much more granular approach. You have to separate gender identity from other diversity group representations, and as we're about to see, you have to apply these across very specific levels of your organizational chart.
Which brings us to Section 3, the 4 mandatory employee categories.
Like I said, you can't just report a company-wide average. You have to break the data down strictly. And honestly, this is where a lot of firms run into massive data mapping challenges. You are required to categorize your workforce from the very top down through 4 specific operational buckets: executive management, non-executive management, professionals, and all other employees. Let's dig into exactly how SASB defines each of these so your reporting is rock-solid compliant.
What's really fascinating here is the sheer precision. Executive management doesn't just mean whoever happens to have a corner office. It relies on strict definitions mapped to international occupational standards, specifically ISCO Submajor Group 11. We're talking about your C-suite executives and senior officials. These are the individuals formulating policy and directing the overall activities of the firm. It is a very exclusive, clearly defined tier of your workforce.
Next rung down the ladder, we have non-executive management. These are the leaders implementing those high-level policies within specific organizational units. Think of your department heads, regional directors, and operational managers. They're still directing and coordinating activities, for sure, but they are implementing rather than formulating the overarching company-wide policies set by the executive team.
The third bucket is professionals. This captures your highly skilled and qualified experts across finance, legal, and tech divisions. Under the ISCO mapping, this generally falls into Major Group 2. In an asset management context, this is a massive, absolutely critical category. It includes your portfolio managers, your quants, your compliance officers, and that specialized tech talent running your trading infrastructure. They might not be managing the firm, but they are the engine executing the highly skilled core functions of the business. And finally, all other employees acts as the catch-all bucket for the remainder of your global operations workforce. This covers administrative support, clerical staff, and really any other roles that don't neatly fit into those strict definitions of management or highly skilled professionals we just covered.
Okay, Section 4. Calculating gender and diversity.
Having the right categories sorted is really only half the battle. Let's look at how the math actually works. The crucial catch here is the denominator. You do not divide the number of female executives by the total number of employees in the firm. That's a common mistake. Instead, you divide them by the total number of executives. For gender, SASB requires categorizing as women, men, or not disclosed, though firms can absolutely add other gender identities. For diversity, we're looking at historically marginalized populations, which encompasses race, ethnicity, age, or disability status. But SASB does provide a critical exclusion here. If your local jurisdictional laws prohibit collecting this data, or if collecting it poses a risk of harm to the employees, you are completely permitted to omit it.
When you finally publish your sustainability report, it results in this highly transparent matrix. You've got your 4 management tiers forming the rows and your gender categories forming the columns. It gives anyone reading it an immediate snapshot of representation across the firm's exact hierarchy. It makes it remarkably easy for an investor to digest exactly who sits where.
And the reporting follows that exact same structured matrix for diversity group representation. It's broken out across those exact same 4 management and staff layers on the left, the specific groups tracked across the top, whether that's race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic background. Well, that will just depend on what is applicable and legally permissible in your specific operating jurisdictions.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Fostering Equitable Representation.
You see, compliance goes a bit beyond just filling out the quantitative data in those tables. Investors don't just want to see the raw numbers. They really want to understand the engine driving those numbers. So the metric also requires a narrative description of your actual policies and programs designed to foster equitable representation. Think about it. If your executive management numbers show a total lack of diversity, what are you actively doing to fix the pipeline? The standard explicitly asks you to describe your global operations approach to fostering equity.
This is where you get to show your work. Are you maintaining transparency in promotions? Do you have active sponsorship programs to elevate minority professionals into executive roles? What about flexible work arrangements? Maybe you're implementing schedules that accommodate varying employee needs to improve the retention of your absolute top talent. This narrative disclosure is your chance to prove you're actively managing human capital risks, rather than just checking off boxes on a compliance checklist.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider not just how you'll fill out these SASB tables, but what those numbers actually reveal about your firm's competitive edge. Are you truly maximizing your talent pipeline? Are your policies genuinely fostering a diverse array of perspectives that could, as the standard suggests, enhance your portfolio's risk-return profile? Reporting under FNAC 330A1 is mandatory for compliance, for sure, but truly understanding the story behind your data? That is what's going to keep your firm competitive in the race for skilled talent.